So I'd love to have a quick discussion about what you just saw in this video. And I'd love to start with what you saw here that was great, that you think is really working, that you think would bring us to this being a positive relationship and an increasing core member satisfaction.
Sorry, before we do it,
Yeah.
give us a little bit of context as to where this was in the conversation at the very beginning.
Sure, thank you. I was going to say that and I forgot. Thank you. So this is the beginning of a full conversation that they have about round zero, one of their first round zero meetings. They talk for about 10 minutes about their relationship, and this is the first 10 minutes. And you know, in the next 5 minutes or so, they continue to talk about expectations, how they'll communicate, norms they'll have, and then also, you know, what they sort of clarify, you know, things that might happen, pitfalls that might come up, and how they'll deal with them. And then they make a pretty distinct transition to then talking about their round zero deliverables. So we don't see that part of the conversation, we just see them transition to, now let's talk about your round zero tools. Thank you so much for asking that question, that's such important context. So knowing sort of where that was in the conversation and what this was about, what were the things that you saw that were effective, great, that you think are going to lead us to positive outcomes? Yep.
I mean, I was about to say, the first thing I noticed was she started off with, we're going to have a relationship, and then she talked about the purpose of the relationship, like the purpose of her role, like I'm going to be leading you on about her daily problem solving. But she started off with like, I want to have a relationship with you, and I want to be there for you. I want you to feel like you can come to me with questions and thoughts, and I want you to feel like you can be proactive. And I feel like grounding the purpose of her role in the relationship was helpful, because that's starting off. That's the reason why I'm here.
Great, thank you.
I really appreciated that she started off just saying, what is your understanding of my role, so that then I think she could customize the conversation based on verifying misconceptions, and also, as much as possible, confirm, like, yes, you understand how we're going to work together.
Yeah, I think both of these points, what Samuel's saying, she's really explicit about the fact that they're going to have a relationship and that they're working towards a common end. I think with Bonnie's point, she's also recognizing that the core member does know plenty of things about the PD role and has previous experiences, and she wants to know what the core member is thinking and start from a common place. Yeah.
Also, just that they're mutually setting the expectations, and saying, I'm going to interview, here's what I expect, and I'm giving you that, and they get to set those together.
I think maybe this was shared by Commissioner that she very clearly stated your goals are your strategic goals, and those are my goals, and so I'm here to help you with your goals. I think we just got very direct when we started the goal.
Yeah, I think she does definitely make that clear point, and I think that I saw that in a series of the DC videos, which I think was really exciting. I think they normed their team on certain approaches to take in these conversations, which I think you could see sort of affected the whole team, and I think Amanda does that really clearly and well there. I mean, it seems like we're pulling out just several strengths here that aren't easy to do. You know, there's figuring out how to get insight into what a core member already knows about the relationship. There's being explicit about the fact that you do have a relationship, like that you have a relationship that's driving towards an end. There's creating shared expectations about your work together. I think these are areas where we've seen PDs struggle in the past, and we were really deliberate, I think, both in our formal training and then also clearly in the management and support that you provided in your regions to help PDs figure out what expectations to set and how to run these relationships. And I think that this really explains to me like why we saw satisfaction increase. And I think why, you know, we generally saw PDs and core members being on the same side of the table, and I think that's really exciting. I think I do see hints here too of the I'll do it for TFA pitfall, and that was one sort of signal to me that this would be a good example for us to look at together to think about, okay, where do we go next from here? And like what could be holding this relationship back from being as transformative as it could be? So I'd love to move us on to our next question, which is just, to what extent is this a catalytic relationship? What is missing from it that you've observed? And what do you think should change it? So what were your thoughts on that question? Yeah, Paisley.
I think something that, I'm Paisley from Los Angeles. I think one thing that we have over-dialed slightly in Los Angeles in previous years is that we are here to help you meet your goals for your kids. And so it's really become all about the kids, and the core member is just a vehicle to get to the kids, because that's what we really care about. And so I think that there could be a secondary component of, we're here to support you to get to your goals with your kids and to build your leadership skills, because we want to, like, that's why we brought you here as well, so that you contribute to the movement in the long term. So just like putting in that secondary component of our jobs to help you get to your goals with your kids, and our jobs to develop you as a leader to be effective.
Great, so we see a stewardship piece for that that's not explicit. Yeah.
And just to build on that, Jen from Miami. One of my PDs last year, who did this really effectively, did a really good job of exactly that piece. First of all, really explaining her background and what brought her to her role. And at first when I observed, I was like, wow, she's really going on and on and on about her background and this context. But then where it landed was, it opened this door for the core member and her to have this whole conversation about our movement that I hadn't really seen before. And what came out of that was, one, she then asked, like, so where do you see yourself long term? Because I'm thinking about you and like our movement and where you're going to be. And then secondly, like as the year went on, she also then had that to draw on her own inspiration in terms of possibility about those same core members when they started to struggle. So I felt like when I think about catalytic, I could see how that, even though I think it, even for me, like observing, I was like, where's she going with this a little bit? It was really powerful.
I thought to piggyback off of Paisley's in terms of whether or not we should consider how we talk about goals as your goals and your kids, and the extent to which maybe we should consider saying that these are our kids too. They're certainly yours, you know, most of the time because you're in the classroom all the time with them, but I consider them mine too, in the same way that I would if I were a principal of a school. And so it's not like we're talking about our goals actually. And I feel like particularly later in the year, that can become a very powerful way of, you know, rallying energy and focus, etc. That like we're in this together. I'm not judging you from the other side of the table. These are our goals. And so I wonder if that's something we should consider. I don't have it fully formed.
No, I think that's really important. I also think it makes me think, what will it take for a PD to convey to a core member that they are truly shared goals and that they have the same belief and conviction in them that hopefully the core member does, which I think is incredibly important. And I think it would take more than one statement or one comment about it. I think what it requires is a much more meaningful and I think explicit conversation about the nature of the achievement gap and the achievement gap in the core member's classroom and what their kids are really going to learn that year, which is, I think, what is going to make this more meaningful. Molly, did I see you?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
On a different note, just my notes that I think would make this even stronger, although I thought it was really good, really authentic, was just kind of putting out there about the challenge piece and that the role of the program director is also to kind of push you and provide a perspective you don't have, and kind of, in some cases, that they're going to ask the cover to trust them with some advice and just try things out, and that that's going to be something that they need to deal with as they work through the relationship.
So there's an element of, if we're really driving towards very ambitious goals with kids, it's not always going to be positive and congenial. I mean, you know, hopefully we're alive, but you know, you're going to need to challenge each other, and sometimes you're going to be making hard decisions and talking about hard issues.